Hi, I'm Erin Power.
And I'm Laura Rupsis.
We're certified health coaches, and this is Health Coach Radio.
This podcast is about the art, science, and business of health coaching.
We share our insider tips to help you become a better coach and entrepreneur.
And we interview expert guests to discover how they've made it in this growing field.
It's time for health coaches to make an impact.
It's time for Health Coach Radio.
Today we're chatting with Debora Wayne, the founder and CEO of the International Chronic Pain Institute and a world-renowned energy healer specializing in rapid pain release. Helping clients manage a life with chronic pain and mystery symptoms is a growing area of interest for a lot of health coaches. And we're seeing more and more coaches stepping into the brain rewiring space. If that's ringing any bells for you, this episode is going to deliver so much wisdom. Debora has been a leader in this space for several decades and has worked alongside some of the most well-known in the field. We talked about some of the hidden root causes of chronic pain, chronic fatigue, depression and anxiety, trauma, weight struggles, binge eating, burnout, and many other chronic conditions. I found it really fascinating, and I hope you do too. We'd love to have you screenshot your podcast player and tag us on Instagram at Health Coach Radio. The show notes for this episode and all previous episodes of Health Coach Radio can be found at primalhealthcoach.com/radio. Enrollment is now open for the fall semester of the Primal Health Coach Institute Level 2 certification course, an advanced coaching course that teaches you how to create transformational coach-client relationships. In our mind, this is the best way to grow your coaching practice. Not only will you learn and practice advanced coaching skills, but this course also satisfies the educational requirements to enable you to sit for the NBC HWC credentialing exam so you can become a board-certified health and wellness coach. Fun fact, PHCI has a 100% pass rate for the board exam. Every one of our graduates who've sat the exam have passed it. Stay tuned to the end of the show to learn more, or visit primalhealthcoach.com/level2. Let's get into today's fascinating discussion about the hidden root causes of chronic pain and how coaches can help their clients uncover it with Debora Wayne. Hey, Debora, how are you?
So good to be here, Erin. Thank you for having me. I'm excited about our conversation today.
So am I. We were having a little preamble off air before I pressed record about how this is an area that I'm really interested in and really not super knowledgeable about. So grateful to you because I know you are an expert in this topic. Without getting any more vague foreshadowing in the way, let's start by diving into who you are and what you do. So maybe give us the 3 to 5 minute speaker bio origin story of you.
So I am the founder and the CEO of the International Chronic Pain Institute, and my specialty is helping the people who are out there suffering, and usually for years, with things like chronic physical pain, depression, anxiety, problems with digestion, insomnia, migraines, people who've suffered trauma. And it could be trauma from childhood, from abuse, from accidents or injuries, or even surgeries gone bad. And I also train practitioners in my proprietary method, which is known as high-speed healing. And the reason that it adopted that name of its own is because we have found that without any pills, without any supplements, without changing the foods and asking people to give up all the foods they love, and without physical therapy, I'm able to help people find and remove the root causes of all these conditions, including chronic conditions, literally, that people have had for 20, 30, 40 years. And they get their energy back and their lives back on track. And it's the fastest method that I know how, and it's 100% safe. So I've been working with people for many, many years now, after I crashed and burned and had my own health hell, and really discovered that there are 3 exact areas that you have to work in order for people to truly heal. And I've been able to reach tens of thousands of people in 150 countries, all virtually, just like this, and help them get their lives back and learn how to live pain-free. And I'm super passionate about it.
Okay, well, I'm interested in this because I mean, the International Chronic Pain Institute is the name of your organization. You don't just deal in chronic pain, though. There's lots of things that have these sort of root causes that are going unchecked or uncovered. There's a word I just made up. But specifically to chronic pain, this is something that's interesting to me because my mom battled chronic pain forever, and the toll it took on her and even just the toll it takes sort of culturally and fiscally. Can you speak to that a little bit? What's the toll of chronic pain?
Oh, it's unbelievable. My father was the same, and it was not just the toll on him, but the whole family. It's almost like an addiction because when someone has chronic pain, the focus becomes on the chronic pain and it's 24/7. And, you know, it affects every area of life. It affects not just the physical body, but the mental health, the emotional health. Our relationships suffer, work suffers, hobbies, interests, everything suffers. And there are millions of people in the what we're going through now collectively on planet Earth has actually increased the pain levels. Um, Years ago, I think it was back in 2012, there were statistics about pain and stress, and it was 2 out of 3 people then that were paying money to get help with their stress levels because it was over the top. That was before anything we've been through in the last year and a half. And so now it's really off the charts. And the toll, the opioid crisis, the addiction that happens, so many of the people I work with, they come to me, they say, Deborah, I've tried everything. I've gone down the conventional medical trail. They've given me all these drugs. Now I feel worse than I did before. I'm addicted to painkillers. I can't even think straight. And so a lot of those people try to get off of that and then they go into natural medicine and they're looking for something that won't be harmful or addicting. But then they tell me they're taking, handfuls of supplements every day, but they're not sure it's even doing anything. They're going to physical therapy, they're taking injections and pain patches and can't sleep at night. And so the world gets smaller and smaller and smaller for these people. And it becomes, it's not a life. It's really not a life. It's just constant managing pain. So I'm all for not managing and coping with pain. I'm for getting rid of it, being free of it, getting your energy back, and having the freedom of movement again. Because otherwise, I'm sure you saw this with your mom. I saw it with my dad. It became an obsession and a constant 24-hour focus on the problem, which we know what you focus on increases. And this is where it really takes a toll on everybody, everyone around the person as well.
Yeah, that really resonates, everything you just said. My mom's pain was her whole identity after a while. And I remember my mom having all kinds of interesting aspects to her personality and her identity growing up, and then she just became the pain. And this is where I get out of my depth because, like, in the energy work or quantum physics realm, there's something to that, right? The more power you give to that identity, the more it takes from you, that kind of thing. Am I on the right track with that?
You are. I mean, we have to look at the fact that everything is energy. Everything. Our thoughts and our emotions are energy. And where you put your energy, it increases whatever you put your energy on. And this is where everyone has it backwards. And I understand it. Look, when you're in pain and it's big pain, you can't stand it. Everybody wants to get rid of it. I've had it many times. I get it. It's very easy to focus on it, but what you focus on magnifies. And so I'm not saying pretend and deny and suppress, but what happens is most people do not understand and are not taught that their thoughts are a force as real as electricity. And thoughts generate emotions. Every emotion's linked to a thought. And so the thoughts are causing, if the thoughts are, a fear and what if, and how am I going to live with this? And what's, focused on the negative, the emotions that are generated from that are also fear and anger and worry and doubt and overwhelm and feeling out of control. And these feelings literally release chemicals into the body, and they affect the organs, the nervous system, the immune system. And so most people with chronic pain, especially, or any other chronic condition, after a few months of something, who isn't going to worry or be angry and keep trying to figure it out and figure it out? Like, how did I get this? And what do I do about it? And they're Googling and they're researching. So they're putting energy into the thing they're trying to put out. It doesn't work that way.
Okay. Okay, so thoughts create emotions.
Correct.
Emotions release chemicals into the body. Is this the root cause of pain then?
Well, yes, it is. See, the thoughts, the emotions that are repeated and repeated are creating a habit pattern, a habit that's mental, emotional, but it becomes physical. And so I know most people think the it's just happening to them, but there's a precursor. The body's actually the effect, not the cause. The body in the physical realm is the last place that anything shows up. This is where it gets into that quantum world that's based on physics. And so we have to look at, well, what is the precursor? The precursor is our habits of thought, our emotions that get literally stuck and stuffed and denied and repressed and suppressed in the body. And they're putting most people in a sympathetic nervous system state, which causes them to fight, run away and flee, or freeze up. And when you don't feel safe, and when you're in fight, flight, or freeze, your hormones, everything, your sleep cycle, your digestion, your elimination, you can't heal.
Yeah.
And the body's designed to heal itself, but it has to be in a safe space and understand the right tools, which has to do with how we're using our thoughts and emotions. And so most people go into the sympathetic nervous system state. They're using their mind incorrectly. The emotions are just heightened. The hormones are flowing, the cortisol, you see, and then they can't sleep, and then they worry even more, and it becomes a loop, like a revolving door that they can't get out of. And they think if they try harder, Google more, and overthink, that they're going to get out of this loop, and they won't. It actually makes it worse. Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
It does. And I actually coach to that in my own coaching practice. And just as a little sort of sidebar anecdote, I coach mostly in fat loss and metabolic health.
Mm-hmm.
But it's the same thing. It's like you can't diet harder because your body doesn't perceive that things are safe. You are the stress inputs you're bringing in or telling your body it's not safe right now. The last thing it's going to do is get rid of your love handles when your body thinks that you're in danger or it's not safe. So yeah, that makes so much sense to me. And I love talking about this because it is an aspect of health, of body health, that gets swept under the rug. The parasympathetic and sympathetic nervous system sort of relationship. This whole crush culture, hustle culture that's been really popularized by not only the fitness industry, but just the world around us, hashtag hustle. It's like, maybe sometimes, but not all the time, right? We have to have that balance.
Mm-hmm.
So that makes sense to me. What I want to know, if you can maybe help me understand this, is, okay, so I'm going back to my mom here.
Yeah.
I totally buy into the fact that her thoughts created her emotions, and her emotions created this like infinite loop of just exacerbating and exacerbating. But what was the trigger? So,
Okay.
yeah.
So I found there's about 13 top reasons that lie at the root of pain and chronic conditions of other types. And I don't have time to teach them all today, but I'll share with you. Uh, what's fascinating is that, and particularly women do this, they are taught to say yes all the time, even when they mean no. They are taught to always be smiling, be helpful, be giving, giving, giving. And this over giving syndrome and this always saying yes when we mean no, that becomes people pleasing. If men or women do this long enough, I guarantee you there's going to be some type of pain or symptom uh, that shows up physically in the body or in the mind or the emotions. And it is so common and so rampant. The other thing, and there's two other things I'll mention that are really high on the list. One, and this is what the world teaches everyone to do, is to focus on the symptom and cut it out or drug it out. So, what's the first question? Well, where does it hurt? What's wrong? And then we go into the story about it. And then we take tests and we look at x-rays and MRIs, and these give it more power. And so we give everything a label. And before you know it, people are believing in and terrified of the label they've been given. This is not how you heal. And so at the root, again, it goes back to our ideas about what's going on. So most people have a fear that they'll never be able to get rid of it, that they're trying to stop it, and they're afraid of it, and they're giving it power. This lies at the root as well. The whole drug it out, cut it out way is only treating symptoms, and the symptoms are never the root cause, never. The the other really big factor that lies at the root are unresolved emotions. And this is not talked about in conventional wisdom. And even in a lot of natural, alternative, holistic health, very few practitioners are trained to ask the right questions and know how to help someone when they go deeper into the emotional piece. It's kind of the thing we don't want to talk about. Like, don't bring your anger here, don't bring your trauma here, don't bring, the abuse here. We just want to fix the symptoms.
Mm.
But you can't. We Emotions play a huge role. And I love, years and years ago, Dr. Valerie Hunt, the late Dr. Valerie Hunt, who was a PhD at UCLA. She was the first person to ever photograph the field that surrounds the body, the subtle energy field. And this is what's fascinating. She was able to see that emotions were creating a frequency, a disturbance frequency that was in the field and communicating to the body. And that this was the number one thing that was causing the pain and the conditions in the body. And that when people had emotional release using different methods, the photographs changed and they saw the frequencies becoming harmonious. And this is why, I'm so passionate about what I do working in the energy field, in what's become known as the biofield, because the emotions are playing such a huge role. And most people are not getting that type of help at their doctor's office. And it's just a huge key to put the puzzle back together. We have to really find a way that's fast and doesn't take 10 years of talk therapy to release emotions, because that's what's at the root of almost, it's at least playing one major role. No matter what's going on, the emotions are always at play somewhere, and they're not being found. So people are doing, for example, elimination diets. They're having inflammation. They're doing physical therapy. They're meditating. They're doing exercise and gentle stretching. They're taking, natural supplements or natural anti-inflammatory patches, and they're still not healing. Why is that? Because they're not releasing the emotions, which are suppressed in the body. And the emotions have a life of their own.
Mm-hmm.
You
That
follow
makes
me?
sense. It makes sense. Um, a lot of what you said makes sense. Like, we are taught to focus on the symptom, which gives it more power. And I think, going back to my mom again, it was spinal stenosis. And the number of times I heard about spinal stenosis, and I was like, maybe just quit talking about it. And I had a sense, an inner knowing that maybe if we just don't, and then she mentioned to me that it's genetic, spinal stenosis is genetic. And it's like, I bet I won't get it. but,
Well,
but I
this is
can
a
sense
very
that.
interesting area. When we look at all the new research about epigenetics and the work of Bruce Lipton, and we know that, yes, things are genetic, but
Mhm.
genes turn on and off. Guess what? From the thoughts, from the environment they're soaking in, which is the emotional climate. So the whole area of genetics is exploding with a new way of understanding health and healing. And it's really the perfect segue into why the energy field is so important, because your genes are not in charge. You're in charge. And it goes back to what we've been talking about all morning, which is the thoughts and the emotions. That's the subtle energetic imprint that's causing these genes to turn on and off.
Mm-hmm.
Fascinating.
It is super fascinating. And epigenetics is an area that I'm very fascinated in. It's very empowering to imagine that, yeah, you have genes. Whether or not they turn on or off is actually in your control. That's great news. The piece that I honestly truly have struggled with up until this very moment is, oh, there's an emotional aspect to that. So I did my nutrition training at a holistic nutrition college, and we learned about this, the psycho-spiritual connections and chakras and things like that. And for me, it was like, okay, I mean, I'll learn this because I have to for this diploma. But here's an anecdote. I had a client who was struggling with stubborn weight, which she was doing everything right, but the weight wasn't coming off.
Right.
We'd get on our coaching calls and she would talk about this problem she was having at her workplace. Her boss was really being disrespectful to her and not communicating well with her. And English wasn't her first language, so she was having a hard time communicating back. I remember back to my holistic nutrition training, I'm thinking throat chakra, thyroid. I'm thinking, wait a second. Trouble communicating, trouble losing weight.
Yes.
My wheels are turning. And I'll be honest with you, I didn't buy into it when I was in school. But as I mature and as I work with more clients, I'm starting to.
Well, you're spot on here. Okay. It's all interconnected. We are a body, mind, emotion, energy complex, and you can't eliminate any part of that. They're all working in harmony together or disharmony. And so I've seen a lot. I work with a lot of women and men with the weight issue, and they're doing everything under the sun and it's not coming off. But think about it. It's back to that sympathetic nervous system state as well. If someone is in an abusive situation or they don't feel safe, the body's going to respond by saying, protect, protect. Weight is actual padding, it's
Yeah.
protection.
Yeah.
And I've also seen it heavily linked to sexual trauma, sexual abuse. Wow, I could talk for an hour about that, but this is really one of the things that often comes up. And when people don't feel safe enough to even bring that up and out, or they may not even really remember, if they think sometimes they were imagining it. It's very common to hear this with abuse of all types. So again, I've seen this link to the weight piece again and again. And that's where in order to heal, we must learn to feel, and we must be with someone, at least in the beginning phases of the healing, where we feel safe enough and know we have the support for those emotions to come up, and then the tools from a mentor or a guide to help you release. It's not just about feeling and knowing what happened. It's about releasing the damaging thoughts that turn into habits and the damaging emotions that you may even know that you're feeling. You may be in touch with them, but what do you do with them? You want to release them, not have them keep generating pain and toxins and suffering.
Okay. So health coaches that are listening to this might be feeling uncomfortable right now.
I understand.
we like, I train health coaches. That's my day job. I'm the curriculum director and coaching director of a health coaching school. And having trained and mentored thousands of coaches over the years, I know that they struggle with getting into emotions.
Yes.
They kind of thought they were going to be talking about food and fitness.
Yes.
This feels not only uncomfortable, but maybe completely out of scope for them. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Absolutely. Well, this is where my institute has really been able to help the whole health coaching, fitness, health and wellness world, because some people they're not going to go into that realm. They don't want to, and they don't need to. I've trained practitioners all over the world, and I train coaches, though, the ones that do want to go into this, it's amazing because it's actually easier than you think. And you don't have to be a psychologist, and you don't have to be a therapist, and you're not sitting there listening to people's emotions all day and night. So what happens is when you learn how to work in the energy field, it's actually the missing puzzle piece for the health coaching industry, because you're going to hit a wall of limitation. First of all, I'm sure that your coaches and that you have run into these two scenarios. One, you have a client come in, you do all the testing, you see clearly what's going on. You lay out the diet, the supplementation, you lay out the protocol. They follow it to the letter and they don't heal. And you're scratching your head going, what the hell? Well, this is where it's in the energy field. It's the emotions and the thoughts, but you can find them rapidly without talking by knowing how to work in the energy field. That's why I love training health coaches, because they need that piece. The second piece is you do all the tests and nothing shows up on a test. But these clients are clearly suffering. They're exhibiting symptoms, many times, many symptoms for years. Then that's truly baffling to any health coach or fitness professional. So this again is the greatest advantage, is to be able to do high-speed healing working in the energy field. It's safe, it's rapid, it can do no harm. It's actually relaxing for the clients, and it's the fastest way to release the emotions that you don't want to talk about and the thought habits, and affect the physical body to help people even assimilate the nutrition and the supplements faster and easier. And it even gets rid of the resistance that people have to, for example, changing their stress levels or exercising or changing their diet. It helps people, actually makes it easier for them to do all of that willingly without willpower and having to force themselves. It's fascinating how that works. So I feel like this is the key for the coaching industry, to really be able to have the total package to be able to help someone. And if they don't want to, I have practitioners that will do it for them, and they can, we can intersect and work together as a team. But there is a solution. And that way, any health coach really has all the tools, all to
Yeah.
help anyone. There's nowhere else to look.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's a great point. You probably struck a chord with a lot of practicing health coaches who have had a client that baffles. Just, I'm baffled. I don't know what more to do. I don't know how to tweak the nutrition program. I don't know how to tweak the fitness program any more than I already have. And then the client too comes to you as the coach looking for the hack, the hack. And it's like, I don't know. And what I heard you say was, I'm paraphrasing what you said, but it's like, it can't hurt to start playing in the energy field. And what if it is the missing link? And quite often it is.
It's actually the most powerful place to start. And when I've trained health coaches, I recommend they start in the energy field, because you're going to be blown away when you see how many of the symptoms actually dissolve. They're gone. Just to give you an example of what's possible, people, for example, with fibromyalgia, who obviously come to health coaches all the time, right? And they're told it's incurable and there's nothing we can do. We'll help you manage it. And usually they are given anti-inflammatory diets and supplements, right? I have had thousands of people I've worked with who've had fibro for 20 to 30 years, not a day without pain. And I've even gone into a research lab with someone with 12 years of fibromyalgia. And it's not uncommon in the very first session, in less than an hour, for them to leave completely pain-free. Now, I know people will be listening to this and roll their eyes because this is not common knowledge that it's even possible. But if you work in the energy field, it's the fastest path. And then coaches have the answer. And then you won't feel stuck and blocked. It's the fastest way to get raving fans and know how to help almost everyone, because with all the other tools you have, and you can show the diagnostics before and after. That's why I went into a lab. I wanted to show measurable results before and after. And what they found with my method, which is known as high speed healing, it blew me away actually. They found that I'm getting 6 times the decrease in pain and other symptoms and the increase in energy of any method they studied in 25 years, including acupuncture.
Mhm.
And even though it showed a 51% measurable result in the very first session, decrease in symptoms, but
Mhm.
the clients have all said, no, I'm 99.9% pain free. And it's really not uncommon for me to hear that, particularly with things like fibromyalgia and arthritis pain, all types of pain. And then I find really over the course of 4 to 6 sessions, almost everyone, well, I mean, really, everyone I work with has something happen that's for the better. That, often they right away they say, wow, I slept for the first time in years. That's often the first thing that resolves in one session. It's remarkable. So
Mhm.
headaches, migraines, these thyroid issues. I've even seen people with Hashimoto's, and they were told that there would always be markers, even if the Hashimoto's went into remission. I've even seen the markers completely gone. So we're entering a new age where really we've entered the age of energy,
Mhm.
and even the technology is reflecting that. We know that energy and light and frequency is the fastest way. The problem is now the technology is expensive. Most people don't know where to find it. And this working in the energy field with something like high speed healing, and there are other types of energy healing methods that I have studied and experienced. I just haven't found any that have as dramatic of a result, which is why I've dropped all the other methods I studied and practiced. I dropped them all because this gets me the results that I'm
Mhm.
after in the least amount of time, with the least amount of talking and analyzing. And it's the most comfortable for people. It doesn't even re-trigger the trauma. Oftentimes people just release it without even shedding a tear or talking about it, which is quite remarkable.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
And I want to get into that, but I want to circle back on something that you said because, you know, my role here as the interviewer is to play devil's advocate. And I think that we would have some listeners that we have listeners who, a lot of health coaches and nutrition coaches bang the evidence-based drum.
Yeah.
So I heard you say that you have actual lab data that shows reduction in, is it inflammatory markers and actual data points like that?
Well, okay, so this is what's so interesting. There's equipment that comes out of Russia and Japan that is it's not very well known in the United States in any medical profession. You find it in subtle energy research labs. This equipment is very sophisticated. It photographs the field around the body, and it can show the organs and how they're responding, the flow of energy along the meridians. And then we also took, normal measurements and videotaped sessions as well. And it shows that the body emits photons of light off the hands, and the hands go into a device, and then it blows up this incredible diagram on a computer screen, which can then be analyzed. And the data, it's very involved. I don't even understand all the data, quite frankly, but it shows it shows the photograph of how there are literally disturbances in the energy field that are emotions. It shows the physical pain, and there are colors that represent this, and then it shows the before and after. And I've had to use different equipment. Some actually will show the entire flow and which organs are lighting up. They're strapped with electrodes, and it shows every little movement that happens internally. Um, I'll give you an example, though, of using an MRI before and after. I had a woman who had stage 4 cancer, a breast cancer, and it was her second round of it. And the doctor said she was too far gone they wouldn't even offer her chemo or radiation. And so we strapped her up to all this equipment. And this was, we didn't want to influence her results. So I didn't even talk with her before, during, or after until 3 weeks had gone by. And I only did one session once a week for 3 consecutive weeks. And they would take her measurements before I came in the room for 20 minutes. Then they took the measurements while I was working on her field without talking and without touching. And then I would leave and they would take measurements for another 20 minutes after I left the room. It was amazing to see how there was a huge spike. Think of a graph like an electrocardiogram. There was a huge spike the second I entered the room, and the second I left the room, the spikes were gone. And it showed completely different information while I was working on her.
Mm-hmm.
And she had an MRI before I began the work. And then she had an MRI scheduled for the day after the third session, which I thought was too soon, but she didn't want to reschedule because it took too long. So the MRI showed an 82% reduction in all tumors within one day after that third session. And then I continued to work on her a couple more times. And within a month, she was declared completely cancer-free. And see, this is why I can't stop talking, because this is the future of healing.
Mm-hmm.
And even if someone in every family knew how to do this, it's remarkable for children. Children respond faster than adults. Think about it. They don't have a lot of the beliefs that
Right.
a 50, 60, 70-year-old has. They're not worried if you think they look stupid. They're not thinking, oh, they're going to, laugh at me. I mean, they're open to a lot of things that adults are not. They're not skeptical yet. And so they happen to be very rapid responders when it comes to the energy healing. They actually usually have a really good time. They love the experience and get very, very relaxed. So,
Yeah.
it's a whole other area that this is helpful for as well. And it even works with animals.
Yeah.
So, there's just a wide range of possibilities. And a lot of health coaches like to be specialized in a certain area. So think about what would happen if you specialized in children or in a certain condition and you had this in your tool belt. Really
Mm-hmm.
powerful.
Yeah, I think it's worth talking about. How would a health coach, how can a health coach learn how to do this? Does it take, do you have some kind of special aptitude for reading energy that maybe not everybody has, or is it something that everybody can learn to do?
That's a great question that usually comes up. Yes, I have developed quite an aptitude. I am highly sensitive. I can scan a person's field like an MRI, and they live in a different country. So, but here's what's amazing. Everyone can learn to do this. Everyone. I have yet to train anyone who has, and when I train, well, let me explain it. It's over Zoom. I used to do it in person, and I may go back to some in person as well. But for years now, I've done it virtually with Zoom and with people from all over the world. And it's very experiential. I really only give left brain linear information for the first 3 weeks. I get them right in working on people in real time over Zoom with me there before they even realize and know what they're doing. And they get results right away. And after that, I help them, become more sensitive and explain what to look for and how to read the body and the energy field. And by the end of the course, they gain the skills and the confidence to be able to work on adults, children, and animals. And that can be in person or at a distance. And I'm telling you, I have trained everyone from an 8-year-old boy to stay-at-home moms to accountants to MDs and nurses. every type of person you can think of, and they've all been successful. And some of them, really want to understand the science about it more, and some of them don't. You don't have to have a degree in physics to understand it, to be able to do it. You don't really have to understand one thing with your mind to be able to do it. That's what's even more fascinating.
So what would the prerequisite be? To open-mindedness, willing to learn? Is there anybody who this isn't suited for?
Well, I'm not going to bring someone who's a total skeptic into the group, because they bring the energy of the group down. So what I recommend for everyone is that they go through my pain-free living program first, which allows me to work with them and their energy field for 6 weeks. And they will become so much more free of their fears, their doubts, the beliefs, the emotions that they might have that they don't even know they have, that would cause them to um, shut a client down. See, we talk about this in the training too. If you haven't worked on yourself, you might try to stop your clients when they bring up something that you're uncomfortable with. Now, that doesn't mean you have to be a therapist, but if you know yourself, and this is really what I'm helping people do, is know thyself, then and get the skill under their belt to not be afraid to have feelings, then you're going to become a better practitioner. And that's what I teach in my pain-free living program. And then I refine that even more when I work with the practitioners in the practitioner training. But when I help them with their own energy field, with their own habits of thought and their own emotions, they can become great practitioners just by knowing themselves and having worked with themselves at a deep level.
Yeah. Well, that actually brings me back to earlier when I was talking about the evidence-based crowd. Because this is another anecdote, but years ago I had a really sore neck that came out of nowhere, and it was, one of those 9 out of 10 chronic pain all day, no relief from it. And I remember when I was having that happening to myself, I was first of all very empathetic to my mom, because I was like, okay, now I know what it feels like to be chronically in pain. It's actually terrible.
Yeah.
It's really terrible.
Yeah.
It changes you as a person. It really does. And I went to every licensed practitioner. I went to my doctor. I went to a physiotherapist, chiropractor, massage therapist. I went to craniosacral therapist. I did everything. A Reiki session is what fixed it. And I didn't care. I was like, if you have the solution to my problem, I don't care what the evidence is.
See, only practitioners who are the ones obsessed with, like, how does it work? People just want you to help them.
Yeah.
They don't care. It's just, can you help me? And that's fascinating that you experience that, because I was a Reiki master for 20 years. And when this came in and I developed this, I never even did Reiki again, because I got dramatic results that went way beyond the scope of what I ever got doing Reiki. And so what I find, a lot of Reiki practitioners do come to me, and even if they want to do Reiki, it amplifies their ability. It takes their Reiki to the next level. It takes everybody's skills to the next level. I've even worked with psychologists and with physical therapists, and they've noticed, and their clients have noticed, that their skills were taken to the next level, because you will become more aware and more sensitive from the training, and from even just working with me in the pain-free living program. You'll become more aware of what you're doing, what other people are doing, and you'll become a better guide for people and a better listener at a deeper level. And energetically, you'll become more sensitive to what's happening with you, and maybe connect the dots between, I'm all worried about work and my deadline and why the neck pain, you see. And so these awarenesses come up for people in the training.
Yeah. So your high-speed healing method, your pain-free living program, these are proprietary programs that you've designed and you train practitioners in, just from the perspective of maybe the kinesthetic learner or somebody who's more visual. Can you give us a sense of how these sessions go? Like, what happens?
So it's a combination of talking and teaching specific tools that help you find and remove and release and rewire your brain based on your thought habits.
Mm-hmm.
And I teach specific techniques that I've discovered that help a person quickly find where they store these emotions in the body and then release them. And these are easy and anyone can learn, and they're fun even for children. And the more you practice them, they become natural they become part of your lifestyle. And you'll start to be aware of when you're creating the negativity that's affecting your health. So I teach those specific techniques. There's PDFs you print out. We have conversations and we do experiential learning.
Mm-hmm.
And then I answer questions, and then I work in their energy field. And I can literally scan at a distance and feel where there are disturbances. And I should mention this back to the data. And I'm going to go into a lab again this year to collect this data because I'm certain what's happening. We're going to put brain mapping on the clients. I see the signs that they're dropping into a theta brainwave state. This is the self-healing mechanism. This is where people drop into the parasympathetic nervous system state. That's what's happening when I work on them. So it's usually very relaxing. So during the training or during even the pain-free living program, at some point in these are live calls over Zoom, and they lie down and I do the work, and it's done. I guide them in with my voice, which helps them relax. And then they start to have an inner experience. And I'm retraining people to become very aware of inner information. Some people see colors and shapes and lights. Some people have imagery. Some people have memories come back into their mind. These are the imprints that they don't even realize affected their health, their mind, their body, their emotions.
Mm-hmm.
Some people will, there's a lot of movement for some people in the body as the body releases the stress and the patterns that it doesn't need. I have people literally have structural changes in the spine and say that it feels like they had hands-on chiropractic treatment. And I'm in another country, but it's highly experiential. And so I'm working in the field, bringing in a different vibration, a different frequency that they need that creates harmony.
Mm-hmm.
And via this field that we're all interconnected in, they get physical results, mental and emotional changes, new awarenesses, and we have a lot of fun. Boy, the group gets very deep and very close very quickly.
I can imagine.
And it's a very safe space to share what comes up. Some
Yeah.
people want to talk about it. I don't force anyone to talk about anything they don't want to, but usually people want to.
Mm-hmm.
And they're fascinated, like you are, by information that comes from within them without me having to dig it out. And we've never talked about it.
Yeah.
And they remember the experiences sometimes that cause the actual root of the problem. They also become very much more in tune with their intuition.
Mm-hmm.
This affects the right side of the brain in a deep way. And the right side of the brain communicates with imagery and metaphor and turns that intuition on. And creativity, people have, oh, this is another fascinating aspect. People's creativity. I have had more people tell me overnight they had the urge to paint or to draw or to do something artistic. And people who are in business, you're going to love this, coaches, they become very much more focused, able to concentrate. It affects the memory, um, and the productivity level goes through the roof. And I've had people come up with book ideas, actual book downloads come through. The people have come up with inventions and new business ideas, like all of the name, the products. It's been fascinating to witness what has happened as you clear out the disturbances from your field. Your mind, that dormant DNA, that junk DNA they talk about,
Mm-hmm.
and how we're only using 10% of our brain. This is activating, this is my hypothesis, but that it's activating dormant DNA. And so people all the lights start to come back on. It's really incredible. And I'm sure there's more for me to discover. That's why I want to go back into the lab and see what's happening in the brain and what's lighting up in there and do some more investigating.
Yeah, that was a wonderful explanation. That was, because I think you get to a certain point, or maybe we don't all get to this point, but some of us practitioners get to this point where we realize the body is not just machinery, bones and organs. We're energetic beings, and we can't just screwdriver and hammer and nails. We need to get into the energy of being human. So it resonates. It definitely resonates with me. Even somebody who's on the mildly skeptical end of the spectrum, only because I haven't had a lot of exposure to it. But I will say that Reiki practitioner asked me a question that she shouldn't have known to ask me. It's like, how did you know to even ask me that?
That
So,
happens to me too. I will, even the stories I'll tell that just will come up in the moment while I'm training. And then people say, oh my God, I needed to hear that. Like, it's really quite interesting how we all sync up.
mhm.
Brain waves sync up. When you're in a group, it forms what's known as a collective consciousness, a field of information. And it is wild. The right people show up in the groups that are right for each other. There's a familiarity sometimes. The issues are similar. There's a theme that takes place. There's no accident who shows up in the training. Um, and my father practiced allopathic medicine for 65 years. He was a hematologist and specialized in internal medicine. And he had a private practice. He worked at 3 hospitals. He worked 6, 7 days a week for 65 years in conventional medicine. And he said to me one day, he said, I don't buy this germ theory. He was very sensitive, and he had a great sense of humor. People loved him, and he got to know his patients and ask them questions and got a feeling about them. And he would say to me, I just have a feeling about. He was accessing his intuition. He would have been the first one to say, "Oh no," but he was, and he was a lover of nature, and he became an artist at 82. He started to paint, and he finally came around and asked me to work on him. And what blew me away was when first of all, throughout the session, he kept opening his eyes, which a lot of skeptics do because they're feeling something and they're wondering, wow, was she doing that? Like, is she in close to my legs? Or and he was checking me out. And at the very end, when I brought him out of the first session, I said, well, what did you experience? And he said, you really helped me. And I said, well, how? What do you mean? He said, spiritually. Now, if you knew my father, you would never have said that. My father was, show me the data.
Mhm.
And I welcome all skeptics because I'm not here to convince anyone. I am here to provide an experience just like you had, Aaron. And once you have an experience, you can't deny an experience. I'm not here to just talk at you and teach you facts and convince you to believe in something that you don't really get. I want you to get it viscerally. I want
Yeah.
it to be palpable for you. And then you'll know this is real and it works, and a lot of those fears and doubts just melt away.
Mhm. Okay, so coaches listening who are intrigued, interested in wanting to learn more, to get into your practitioner training, you suggested earlier the first thing to do would probably be to go through the pain-free living program, even if they're not experiencing pain, but just to experience what it feels like.
Or work with me for at least 4 sessions.
Okay.
I highly recommend you have no less than 4 sessions of high speed healing because you may be surprised, even if you're very healthy, you may be surprised at what comes up, and it will make you more aware, more sensitive, and just a better practitioner. Even if you never decide to learn high speed healing as a skill and you let us help you, you will benefit from it. But if you want to learn the method, absolutely. I don't, uh, you know, the receiving of it is a vital part of your skill set.
Yeah. That makes sense. So where can folks go to learn more about your practitioner training program?
Go straight to my website, which is internationalcpi.com. And also, when you go to the website, there's a gift waiting for you, which I think your coaches
Oh,
all appreciate. This is my best-selling book. It's called Why Do I Still Hurt? And it continues the conversation we've been having here today about what do you do with people? What's going on with the people who don't heal or where nothing shows up on a test?
yeah.
And it goes a little bit deeper into my personal story as well, and why I ended up doing all of this, because it wasn't on my goal list to become a high-speed healing practitioner. So yeah, if you go to the website, you'll find ways to work with me individually in my groups and the practitioner training. It's application only, so you want to fill out the questionnaire, and that will come directly to me. And I and my team will get back to you, and I would love to help you further in any way I can. And even if you don't want to learn the method and practice it yourself, if you are interested in it, I'm happy to provide the services for you and your clients so that you can offer this, even if you don't want to learn how.
Right. So outsource it, sort of third party it. Yeah. Wonderful.
Absolutely. And by the way, we have an affiliate program. So if you decide to refer clients to me, we pay commission for that as well. So there's a lot of different ways to get involved and utilize the services.
This is wonderful. This is really wonderful. I really appreciate you taking the time to patiently teach me and our listeners about this work. And I've learned a lot, and I'm intrigued, very intrigued to learn more.
It's my total pleasure. I can't thank you enough for the work you're doing, getting health coaching out into the world. Oh my God, what a necessary profession, and it's becoming more and more popular, thank goodness, and it's helping people in so many ways. And I just appreciate you allowing me to share this out of the box, unfamiliar, and trailblazing method with your community. Thank you so much.
My absolute pleasure. Thank you so much, Debora.
This podcast was brought to you by Primal Health Coach Institute. To learn more about how to become a successful health coach, get in touch with us by visiting primalhealthcoach.com/call. Or if you're already a successful health coach, practitioner, influencer, or thought leader with a thriving business and an interesting story, we'd love to hear from you. Connect with us at hello@primalhealthcoach.com and let us know why we need to interview you for Health Coach Radio. Thanks for listening.
Well, if you've been listening at Health Coach Radio, you'll know that we're all about raising the voices of practicing health, fitness, and nutrition coaches, but most importantly, helping to further legitimize this exploding industry. Erin and I have disclosed often that we're on the faculty of the Primal Health Coach Institute, founded by none other than the health and wellness legend, Mark Sisson. And we've interviewed dozens of guests from just about every different health coaching program you can think of, and who practice in just about any conceivable way you can think of. But our allegiance is to the health coaching industry in its totality, first and foremost. It's our desire to continuously and unapologetically lift and promote this industry that nudged us to create this podcast for you in the first place. It's this same yearning that encouraged us to take the educational offering at our health coaching school to the next level. We are so proud to offer the Primal Health Coach Level 2 certification course, which, when combined with our primary course, the Primal Health Coach certification course, not only satisfies the educational requirements to sit for the board exam, but is specifically designed to teach advanced coaching mastery. You will work closely with a small class of peers through this 12-week, very intensive, live online classroom experience to learn how to execute a coaching relationship that is truly transformational. You'll learn and practice how to ask powerful questions, what it means to hold space for your clients, but most importantly, how to actually do it. You'll learn about the craft of motivational interviewing and the nuances of habit change, goal setting, and accountability, and how to nurture your client's own inner knowing, their intuition, and their own self-efficacy, so that they will graduate from your care a truly transformed person. You want a big, successful, powerful coaching practice. And maybe you're devouring our episodes looking for the silver bullet that's going to launch your business into the upper echelons. We've said it a million times and we'll say it again. Your coaching skills are what will make or break you and set you apart for success in this field. So if you're looking to level up your coaching skills and maybe dial up your credential and become a board-eligible health coach, look no further. You can learn more about PHCI's Level 2 program at primalhealthcoach.com/level 2. But if you would value talking to a real person about your path to being a masterful coach and perhaps a board certified coach, book some time with me personally. You can access my calendar at primalhealthcoach.com/call. Or just call me. You can reach me at 844-307-7662. Thank you for listening to Health Coach Radio, and I hope I get to talk to you soon.